Wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Well, good morning. It's Monday and time to start another week of work here in beautiful, snowy Raleigh, North Carolina. We got a couple of inches of snow over the weekend, which puts everything to a grinding halt. The roads have a little bit of ice on them. It shuts everything down. Luckily, I don't have to worry about missing work because, hey, I miss work every day. I can't really say I miss it, but it's one of those times where you really can appreciate the quiet because there's nobody on the roads, and you can get work done. And getting work done is what I'm all about this week. I did paint a little bit on the ships this weekend, just kind of picked at things here and there. And let's catch you up to where we are at the present moment. Okay, here we are on the two ships, the Rhode Island and the Equinox. And like I said, I did a little picking at things over the weekend. Painted on these deflectors, worked on some stuff, started a couple of different techniques for windows to see which one I liked the better. And now I'm down to having to paint these phaser strips. I tried to do one in by hand just to see how well it was going to go. Realized that was not the way to go. So figured if I have to paint more than one of them, I should make a template for it, and that's what I'm doing now. I am trying to come up with some sort of template that I can fit over top, like a donut hole that I can fit over top of these so I can spray them and get them more consistent that way. But you can see I'm starting to work in some details. And then once I get these down the road a bit, I'll get back on the wing defender. Was playing around with painting in the deflector. I think that came out pretty well. I've got to touch up the orange a bit, but trying to simulate a glow without actually making anything lit up is not the easiest thing in the world. But hey, that's why we paint things. Okay, these are going down very well. Still need to do obviously some more, perimeter masking to keep the overspray down to a minimum, but they're going on pretty well. The trickiest parts, obviously, are doing these curved ones. And here's a small glimpse of all that it takes to bring Raleigh down to its knees. Now, this is Monday, so the roads have had a couple of days to melt, and that is what substitutes for road clearing around here as we wait for it to melt. Which, as a taxpayer, I'm probably happy for, because they could be spending millions of dollars on road clearing equipment that they use once a year. So, it's not that big a deal to just let the sun do its thing. Okay, it's time to start painting round one of the phaser strips. I'm going to do the top of the Equinox and the bottom of the Rhode Island at the same time, and then flip them both over, or take the masks off and then flip them over and do the opposites on both. It's a little bit too much to mask top and bottom of both ships at the same time. There's too much finagling and odd handling to do that, so we're going to paint these in two stages. Okay, the brown's had time to dry, so I'm going to start taking the tape off and see how well it turned out. Well, took the tape off, and pleased to report that unlike last time, no paint came off with it that shouldn't have been there. But I did need to go in with a really fine brush and just touch a spot here or there that the tape didn't quite cover, or covered too much of. Better than having to paint the whole thing by hand. Still a lot quicker and a lot more uniform of color. I think this is a good place to leave it for a Monday evening. I've got the phaser strips painted top and bottom on both ships. Going around, ever smaller circles, touching and painting in details. You can see the phaser strips on the bottom there, and on the top there. Starting to put details in the windows and things like that. Now tomorrow we will continue on our way and paint in some of the gray accents. I went through and did a pass on the wing defender and blended some of those green, some of the oranges and browns in, and even went over with a bit of a metallic brown to give an iridescence to those feathers. And the big part that needs to be done here is still that center deck, as far as adding the detail in and making that look better. And then on the engine, the wings are mostly done. I did the same detail on the wings, but the engines themselves have a lot of details that need to be painted in yet. So coming along nicely, not taking not rushing through it. I'm taking my time, not rushing through it. And again, a lot of the detail that you haven't seen yet is going to be handled by decals. So that will be the icing on the cake. I want to go through and really nail down these quad thrusters on the corners here, and then on the engines, make sure I've got all the colors adjusted correctly for them. And then it'll be time to paint in maybe some sort of glow effect on the warp nacelles, and that'll be fun. But that'll be for another day. This is it for Monday evening. Good night. Well, good morning. It's Tuesday, and we're back at the two Federation ships available from Federation Models, aptly named. Please visit them. Tell Tracy I said hello. And what I've done this morning is I've just gone in with the wee tiny brush and a steady hand as I can muster in the morning, and traced in some of the windows. I don't know if white is exactly the best color. Seems to be there's always really two choices for colors for windows. They're either white or black, whether they're on or they're off. And the black, I tried painting some in, and they just looked, at this scale, they looked a bit odd to have these big black windows in. So I decided to paint them white. And I'm wondering now if I might want to put some sort of wash over top of them to give some color, so that they might look like rooms and things like that, instead of just white pieces of paper attached to the sides of the hull. But I'm not sure, so I'm going to let that sit and walk away from it for a while. Today's job is to get the nacelles all happy and painted, and we will be pretty close to getting ready to do the decals. The decals are a one-time shot only, so I need to make sure I'm happy with everything else before I do that. Going to go over the hull completely with, I've got this light, the light gray hull color, but I might want to go in and just do a little bit of shading on the hull before the decals go in, and I have to decide how much of that I want to do. Almost everything that I see shows the Equinox as being fairly beaten up, but I don't think I want to do that, because then that kind of disguises how good the model actually is. And the Rhode Island is almost always shown new and shiny and all of that. So I think I'm going to err to the side of making them both look fairly new and clean, and then let the modeler decide after that how much beating up they want to do. Well, welcome back. It's Wednesday, and now is the time to tell the tale of many blues. I finally got some of the officially sanctioned sky blue. I had to order it from eBay, but it finally came in today. And this is what I'll be using on the 3 swivel chairs. And I gotta tell you, looking at my old friend Peekaboo Blue, that those color caps are virtually identical. You can't get Peekaboo Blue anymore. Apparently you have to, Krylon has this thing where they announce different colors of the season, and once they do that, then they discontinue the colors from the previous season. So the color for the season this year was the Spa Blue, and we all know what happens when you paint Spa Blue on the chairs. It comes out very dark, and what I ended up doing was putting Peekaboo Blue over top of it, and you get a chair that looks like that. Now, when I did that, I heard back from one of the gentlemen who works with Star Trek Continues, and they say, oh, that looks too light. It looks too light. Well, I gotta tell you, it's probably the lighting. It's gotta be the lighting then, because the color of the sky blue, at least on the can, now I know things can change from can to paint, but the thing looks very, very much like the Peekaboo Blue, so we'll see how it looks once I get it painted. But the goal is to take these chairs, which have not been painted yet, I'm gonna strip them down, and the weather is supposed to be getting much and much warmer every day this week. Now we had snow over the weekend. A couple of inches, enough to bring Raleigh to a screeching halt. And then what happened is that the weather started warming up, and today's Wednesday, it's in the 50s. Tomorrow it's supposed to be in the 60s, and Friday in the 70s. So I'm going to be stripping these down and getting at least the bases painted and getting them primed and maybe get the black on them this week while I can work outside, so that I can start my mass production on the rest of the chairs. But I got to tell you, based on nothing more than the can color, that sky blue that I fussed and fretted over is not all that different from the peekaboo blue I used all along, which means the chairs are going to turn out that color. And here's what the table O ships looks like today. It's still Wednesday afternoon, and some days I feel more like working on the Federation ships, and some days I feel like working on the Wing Defender. Today was a Wing Defender day. Really happy with how this is looking. I went back through and manually touched up some of those. I'm starting to use some of the ComArt stains and washes in here, and I'm going to get this area taken care of, and then the last thing to do will be to put some life into what's going on underneath here. It's not nearly as interesting or fun to look at as the top, so we'll be taking care of some of that. Well, it's Thursday, and it's time to get back on the Federation side of things. I was working on the Wing Defender yesterday. I was gonna do something cute and call it Warp Engine Wednesday and work on these warp engines yesterday, but I didn't feel it. I was feeling like I wanted to work on the Wing Defender, so I put it off till today. And what I'm doing, you may see some yellow masking here, is what I want to do is kind of my reverse thing, where I paint things and then cover them up. Well, now that I've got masks for these areas, these areas and these areas all sorted out, what I want to do is go back in and paint them and airbrush, some glow in it and try to make them look fun. And then cover them up with these so that I can go back over the ship with the grays and the hull colors without worrying too much about messing up all of the work done on these. Plus, it'll help me when I want to put my final flat coat over everything, if these are still protected, because they will probably end up with a nice glossy effect, and I want to be able to separate those two areas. So getting masks done for this was the important thing to do first. So let's get to, now that I've got these, let's get to painting the blues and the reds on here, and put a little glow back in the warp engines. And then lastly, it is pylon work, and once the pylon work has been piled on, I'll be ready to start decaling, because there's some hull touch-up here and there, but basically I'm going with this kind of flat look. I'm not trying to put a lot of weathering or try to put a lot of too much panel demarcation in, because again, I want these to be very clean out of the box builds. Okay, I've done the dark blue on the warp nacelles, and I've let that dry, and now I'm just going to come back in with a slightly lighter blue, and then one last pass to do a whiter blue in the center. But what I'm trying to do is build up a gradual faded glow there, so let's see how successful that turns out. Okay, they're really starting to come together now, and I'm getting to that precarious point where if I continue, I'm pushing my luck and I'm going to do something to screw up. So I'm taking this slow and easy, coming down to the finish line, but certainly not racing towards it. Got all of the colors on the blue parts of the nacelles that I'm going to put on. I'm going to let that dry and see if maybe I need to hit it one more time with the whitest of, with the lightest of blue colors there. I might want to let that sit in and then come back to it. But I have taken the opportunity to put some light glow around some other things, and there's a glow now in the area where the deflector is going to go, and I've put a little bit of glow on the deflector itself, so hopefully that'll look nice. And waiting for like I say, waiting for it to come down on the final on the blue, and then I'll move over to the red portion. But getting there very very gradually, but my overall goal is to be ready to start decaling tomorrow. Okay, the blue parts of the warp engines are painted, and it's a mess. Yes, I took the masking off, but that's what the reverse masking is all about. Got the blue painted on. I'm going to do a little highlight of the red, and then mask those off, and then repaint the grays back around it. I think that was about the only way, with my limited airbrushing ability, that I knew how to get a good airbrush finish on those grills. Everything I was doing by hand just wasn't working. So I knew they needed to be sprayed, and keeping the spray to a damage to a minimum is what the masks are all about. So let's go recreate that mess on the front. And work on the chairs continues on this beautiful, beautiful sunny day. I've got two of the feet drying. This is the primer coat. The third one is still outside. I've got all three of the swivel mechanisms done. This is primered, spa blued, and sky blue. These are done. They are ready to be reinstalled. And this is going to be it for today on these. I'm going to get the primer coat on them, and then tomorrow I will put the top coats on them. And here's the ships with the front of the nacelles all painted in. And I'm going to let this dry overnight, and then I will come back and mask off the lit parts, the supposed lit parts, and paint the grays again. Alrighty then, it is. So hey, welcome back. It's Friday, in case I hadn't said it before. And I am getting ready to put the top coat of gray over the nacelle glowy parts now that I've got the glowy parts all masked off. Both sides for both ships. That's what the funky yellow stuff is. Now I can go back in and spray lightly the gray around it, which should leave a little bit of a ghosted color, which would look like what I'm trying for, which is light spill. A little bit of glow around the edges. Radio, I have just finished the last, hopefully the last crust of fingers gray coat. Doing a little bit of touch up here's and there's. And what I'm going to do is let this dry for a good long while. And then I will hit it with a, well, I'll take these masks off first. And then I will hit it with a good gloss, and we'll be ready to start putting some decals on. I don't think that's going to happen this weekend. I think what I'm going to do, or today, I think what I'm going to do is let this dry for a good long while, pull the masks off, see how everything looks, maybe give everything one last touch with a tiny brush, and then I will spray it with gloss for the decaling and kind of let that dry, set in real good over the weekend, maybe touch it up throughout the weekend with gloss coat here and there, so that Monday morning I'm ready to hit this thing running with the decals. And it's a beautiful afternoon. It's in the mid 70s, so yay. I have hit the chairs, at least the insides, with a first coat of the spa blue, and you'll notice I didn't put any primer on them. I went straight from the white, and then I scrubbed them down and sanded them with a real heavy sandpaper, and then I wiped it down with an acetone to kind of get rid of any finish underneath that might be interfering with the spray. And then I just put a heavy coat of that, well, medium to heavy coat of the spa blue. Since it's one of those paint and primer things all in one, it kind of goes on heavy, and I'm going to let that act as the primer, oddly enough, and go through and let this dry, and maybe give it a light sanding, and then hit it with the sky blue top coat. It's not doing anything on the back because that's where the triangles need to go, and I haven't got those in yet, so I can at least get the insides done. And here we go. I've done a little round of touching up and taken the masks back off of the nacelles, the active parts, and I think we're ready to let this sit for a while. I know a lot of model building seems to be sitting for a while, but one last detail I need to go back in and repaint is the copper bits right in there and the grills, and then we'll be ready for clear coating and decals. But like I said, I'm going to let finish touching this up and then clear coat it tonight. Okay, we got one last look at the chairs before I bring them in. It's late afternoon and it's time to bring this stuff in. Well, let this dry, but this is the first top coat of the sky blue, and it's a little bluer than the video is letting you see right now, or the camera is letting you see. I think maybe that's why people think these are too light. I think it's just the video camera is not picking up the true color. But they've got the inside, the seat part of it, which won't be touched with anything else. I'll go ahead and put the first coat of the finished color in there, and then when the triangles come, I can pop them on the back, and I'll have be that much more finished. Okay, forgive the glossy shininess of it, but these two ships have had their gloss coats put on them, and I'm going to let these gloss coats set for rest of the weekend. I may even add an additional gloss coat on them later, so that I can get them ready for decaling, the ever fun decaling. And that's where we're going to wrap it up for this week. Getting down to the wire, ever so close on the two Federation ships and the Wing Defender, which is off in the other room, and you haven't seen much of that. So, getting down to the wire on these. We'll be decaling them next week and putting finishing touches on them. And got more work done on the chairs. The 3 chairs are in various stages of drying. I'll put another coat on them or so maybe this weekend, but that's neither here nor there. Thank you for joining me this week. Hope you had some fun. I will see you again next week. So until then, be good to each other, more importantly. And we'll see you here next time.